Hello guys, I'm back. My name is Jefferson Costa. I'm a chemical process engineer with expertise in plant design. And today I'm here with Jeremy Mineau. Sorry, Jeremy, I didn't ask you how the pronunciation of your last name. I hope I did the right thing. So it's very nice to have him with me because he is the responsible for the website. Refining is exciting and there are a lot of good content there. We will talk about that and about the refinery and of course about career. And please, Jeremy, say something about you a little bit. And before he does that, guys, let us know where are you from and if you already know the Jeremy content and if you are in my Telegram channel and something like that. Jeremy, it is with you.
So do you want to introduce myself right now?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so I'm Jeremy Mineau.
Live, okay?
Okay, good. So my name is Jeremy Mineau. So I'm based actually in France, in Paris. So it's 7 p.m. here in France, and the weather is very hot here in France. We have a very hot summer for the time being. So actually, I'm working for Total, which is a French company, an oil French company, one of the big five, I would say, with Exxon, BP, Shell, and I think it's Texaco, or ConocoPhillips, maybe the last one with Total, for sure. And I used to work for Total now for 15 years. And before that, I used to be a process engineer for an oil and gas engineering company, which was Foster Wheeler at the time. And now it's called Wood. Maybe you are familiar with Wood. Foster Wheeler, I think it does not exist anymore, or maybe they changed the name, I think, in the past. And now I'm working in Normandy, so in France, and I'm in charge of a small process group of 6 people, and I'm the manager for this small process group, and we are doing some process studies for all the refinery that Total have in the world, and especially in Europe, because Total is more a French company and more let's say located in Europe, and that's why we are more involved in Europe area, I would say.
Nice, very nice. And Jeremy, I will start our interview or our talk because it's more a talk than an interview. And
sure.
The question that I do to all my guests is related to how they get the first job as a chemical process engineer. Could you share with us more details about that, how it was the transition from being a chemical engineer graduated to be a professional engineer?
Okay, so at the very beginning of the story, I was not supposed to get familiar with the process engineering and chemical engineering, I would say. This is because maybe more, let's say, like the chance. I had the chance when I was a student to work in that area. So I started my studies in France, for sure, because I'm French. And I started my, let's say, physics and chemistry studies. And then, you know, when you have studied the two years in France, then you have to choose. You have to choose what you want to do. You have to choose if you want to get more involved in physics, in chemistry. And actually, I wanted to be more involved in physics because I really liked physics. But my results in physics were not so good. So I decided to choose something in between, I would say, which is process engineering, because it's physics, it's chemistry, and it's a good, let's say, compromise, trade-off between physics and chemistry. So I chose this path, I would say, and I finished my 3 years in study in chemical engineering school, applied especially to process engineering. And in fact, I really liked it because I think it's a good way to put in place what you have learned when you are at school. Physics and chemistry, and both at the same time. So I really enjoyed it. And then I got a training period because at the end of your let's say engineering school, you have to do a training period for a 6 month period of time. And I did my training session in my training in Technip, which is also a French company. Sorry for that. Again, a French company, but I think maybe you are familiar with Technip because it's a very big company,
yes.
Oil and gas engineering company. And I did my training period for 6 months in France, so in Paris, in Technip. And I used to work for refineries, process studies, and so on, especially for Ivory Coast. And in fact, it was really great about that. So I decided to continue in that path, in that domain. So that's why when I finished my study, I applied to many other, let's say, engineering company, and that's why I was hired by Foster Wheeler to get, let's say, more familiar with the oil and gas domain, I would say. And this is how I get involved in process engineering. It's a series of, I would say, chance, opportunities, and also pleasure, because when you are in a domain that you like, you want to stay in that domain. So that's why I continued in working in process engineering. And then in 2000, so my first job was in 2000 by Foster Wheeler. And then in 2005, I changed the company. I left Foster Wheeler to join Total because I got an opportunity from Total, for sure. And when you get an opportunity for such a big company, you think about it twice, 3 times, and then you choose, why not? It's really a good opportunity. And then I jumped to Total for now since 2005. So it's been now 15 years.
Oh, a big story. And
Yes.
you are a chemical engineer because you were not so good in physics.
I think maybe it's not that I was not so good in physics, but my results were not so good, but I couldn't join a specific university dedicated to physics.
Okay.
So that's why I had to choose either to do I don't know what's the word for that in English, to do let's say to come back to my second second year of school and do it again. You know, and I don't know what's the word in English. So do it again and to try to have a better results and then to go in a physics school. And I decided not to go in that direction. I decided to choose the best compromise for me, which was process engineering, because like I said, it's a very good mixture between physics and chemistry.
Yeah, good choice, good choice. And let me ask you, you are in Total right now. Do you need to travel around the world, or you get stayed in France? How is it for you?
I would say that for the time being, because of the context that we are all facing, for sure it's difficult to travel because with the planes, the airplanes, the aircrafts, you know, there are not so many as they used to be. So for the time being, we are using a lot of, let's say, Teams, video conference, I would say, with our partners. But in a, let's say, normal way, we travel quite a lot, yes, because most of our, let's say, projects, because like I maybe not described it so well, but I'm working for process studies, so I'm doing projects. I'm really looking at what could be the future of our refining tool within Europe and all over the world. So that's why we use meetings to progress on the project we are working on. For doing this, for sure, at a certain time, you need to get familiar with the people and you need to meet the people, because you cannot, let's say, scratch all the one-to-one meetings, the real meetings, because when you are using, for example, Zoom or Teams, to get a HAZOP review, to have a HAZOP review, for example, it's just impossible. At a certain period of time, you get to know the people and you need to watch them face to face, right in the eyes, because it's very long meetings, and for doing that, you absolutely need to meet the people. So to answer your question, yes, we need to travel quite a lot, especially if you work in the projects, because we have projects in Europe, we have also some projects in the US, we have also projects in Saudi Arabia and Africa, and also in Europe, we have to travel quite a lot because Total's got, I would say, something like 10 refineries in Europe, in Belgium, in UK, in Netherlands, Germany. So that's why we also need to visit these sites and to make the progress of the studies in these plants. So yes, we're working. So yes, we are traveling a lot.
I always have audience from India, and I have a student of mine, Akshay Patil. He is from India, And we have people also from Colombia follow us here in the live session. It's very nice. Do you have any project in India? Have you been there?
We used to in the past. We used to, but I think that for an European company to get in India, it's not so easy. I think you need to have some local partners to develop business. And I think that Total did not go in that direction. So for the time being, as far as I know, we have no projects in India, maybe in the future. But for the time being, we are more focused on in Europe, for sure, and in the assets that we currently run, I would say.
Okay. And there is the students that is leaving the graduation, they are very confused. I have in touch with people around the world right now. As you mentioned, you have a lot of projects around the world, and I'm knowing people around the world also. And you mentioned that you are the head and you lead a small team. And I would like to ask you, what kind of characteristics or skills do you look for when you are hiring someone?
Okay, it's a good question because I'm the manager of this small team now for 1 year, and I was involved in the hiring process of 3 of the 6 people. So I had to do some job interviews. So it's quite good that you asked me that question, because I really had to ask myself the question: what is important for me when I hire someone? What is the main skills, the main characteristics, the main qualities, and sometimes also the let's say the bad point, the weak point that we could accept for doing such a work, such a job. And in fact, what we are looking for the time being are more focused on experienced people. I did not hire young engineers because in the domain I'm working in, we are asking for, let's say, some kind of expertise. So it's quite difficult to start with this kind of job. I mean, the job I'm currently, the job I've currently in my team. Mm-hmm. So we are more, let's say, focused on engineers with at least, I would say, 5 to 10 years of experience. So the first thing I'm looking at for sure is the curriculum vitae, the resume for sure, the experience, the past experiences. What are they? Did they work in the oil and gas industry for sure? Because if you had some experience in food industry, for example, or I don't know, any chemistry industry, you know, oil and gas industry is very specific. So that's why we really look at oil and gas, let's say, skills. Then what I'm looking for is people with motivation, I'd say, enthusiasm, I would say. Because, you know, maybe we will speak about that in a couple of minutes, but refining is exciting. This is my motto. So I'm really into people with enthusiasm, because we work in an industry where you can have fun, because you have all the domains that you have learned at school. You have, let's say, distillation, separation, hydraulics, thermal, calculation, simulation, and so on. So this is really a domain where you can have fun. So I'm really looking for people with enthusiasm and motivation, for sure. And then I would say it's a question of feeling. When I have the person in front of me, or in let's say, Zoom or Teams meeting, is that, would I appreciate to work with that guy or that woman? Is it something that I can imagine? Is the feeling, is the correct, the connection is okay or not? Because sometimes sometimes you have a very good, let's say, experience. You meet a guy, the guy is top, he has done many experiences and so on, and you think the guy is great. But if there is no good connection, if you don't think it will be quite easy to exchange, to work together, you know, it's something very important, and also it's something I'm currently looking at. So that's why so to answer your question, I would say experience. Then it's a question of motivation, enthusiasm, and for sure the connection.
You you are one of the guys that I know that is very connected because you have LinkedIn, you have a YouTube channel, and that is not very useful. Sorry, it's not very, not useful, it's not very common, let's say that. And what do you think about the connections in LinkedIn? How people can use LinkedIn to have a better chance to get a job? Have you think about that?
It's a complicated question because I would say that LinkedIn is something quite, maybe you won't believe me, but quite new, I would say, because I am now 41 years old. So I was not, let's say, born with LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So when I started my professional life, LinkedIn did not exist at all. So now it exists for, I don't know, maybe, 10 years, something like that. So it's quite new, I would say. And it's not so, now I think that most of the people, most of the managers, for example, got a LinkedIn account. So all the managers and the people that are influencers, for sure they got a YouTube account because it's also a way to communicate and so on. But the reverse, I would say, the drawback, I would say, is that you get many, let's say, relationship, connection with people that you mostly don't know at all. So I have many people asking me for a connection, but most of the time I do not know them at all. So that's why it's I would say strange because it's like for example Facebook, you get people normally you already know for sure because when someone's asking you as a connection on Facebook, for sure you already met him at least once. On LinkedIn it's not the case, so you have to change your software. You have to change your mind and say, okay, the people is asking me for a connection, but I don't know him. So most of the time, regarding what I do, I accept. Most of the time I accept because I think that it's a good way to get also audience for my YouTube channel I think that more people connect. The more people connect, I think the more you can exchange. Right? I get some positive, let's say, approach about this. So it's why I accept. But then you get so many messages, requirements, requests that people are looking for a job, for a training period, etc., etc. And to be honest, I can't answer all that messages because otherwise it will be a full-time job. Mm-hmm. So what I do most of the time is that I'm quite polite. So most of the time I get, okay, if you want to work for Total, for example, there is a wonderful website and you can go to this website and you get all the job application and the job proposal in it. So feel free to go to Total Careers. This is the name of the website, and do it because it's not a connection. Because since we don't know each other, I'm not gonna recommend you because I don't know you. So it's also a question of recommendation. Is not only we have a connection on LinkedIn, so you can recommend me. No, it's not the way it works. So as far for the people I already know, I would say it's okay. I can recommend someone, but I never did it because 100% of the time, the people who are asking for a request, for sure, it's the people I don't know. So to answer your question, I would say, if it's someone that you already know on LinkedIn and so on, I would say, why not? Because it could be a way to connect. But most of the time, when we already know the guy, you get also his own email. So you don't need LinkedIn for that. So and for the other cases, like the people you don't know, I don't think it works because you don't recommend people that you don't know.
It was very nice what you said because I have this kind of issue and I'm in LinkedIn and suddenly I see a CV, please give me a job. And what I talk to people that follow me in my Telegram channel is that you must build a connection, a relationship between asking anything to someone. And I think that it's a good opportunity to do this in LinkedIn. I believe that part of you accepting my invitation is because you already know me from LinkedIn, eventually see my posts or something like that. But you must have patience to build connections because no one met each other, you are friends forever, right? You need to trust, you need to have some kind of experience with that people, that person, and etc. And it's very nice you said that, because it shows what you should not do in LinkedIn. In my opinion, and in Jeremy's opinion, don't ask for a job directly. It in most cases doesn't work. It's better you connect and say a happy birthday and do content, and we will observe what you do in the internet, and maybe eventually, if we have opportunity, in many cases, people will go up to you, and you don't need to go do the opposite. Do you agree, Jeremy?
Sure, 100%.
Right.
It's exactly the people that what the people do. It's exactly what you should not do, because it's not the way it works. It's not because it's LinkedIn that it changes things. LinkedIn is just it's just an application. It's just
a way, right?
media.
Just a way.
Just
a channel, just a channel. But the persons choose what the actions, right? And if you change the way, but if you don't change the mind of the person, it will do the same. And
agree.
You are the leader of the group, and it was a decision of you prepare yourself to get more administrative questions, or do you think you still are a technical? And because there is a epsilon career, right? Sometimes you start technical, and you may choose if you will keep technical or if you go to the management side of the work or the job. How was it to you?
It's a very good question, because you know, when you are working for a big company like Total, for example, for sure the human resources is something very important, because when I always said the same thing to get a comparison. I would say you remove the 100 within Total. We are 100,000 people in all over the world. You remove the 100,000 people from Total, and you put inside instead of this, you put 100,000 people working for, I don't know, Apple. Imagine Total is dead, because what is important is in a company. It's not only in the company itself, the name of the company. It's also the people. The people is something very important, because it's the know-how of the people, and what that makes the value, I would say, of the company. So human resources is something very important. So you have to manage the human resources from a technical point of view, but also from a management point of view. So in each company, you need very technical people, because most of our issues are technical. So you absolutely need experts and specialists in their domain, but you also need managers. It's a combination of both, for sure. So what does Total? For sure, like other companies, they are looking for managers. They are also looking for experts, and they try, because at the very beginning of the story, for sure, they have some jobs, and you have these jobs to be fulfilled. I would say you need a person for the right job. And for the very beginning of my career within Total, I used to be more in the specialist area. I would say technically point of view, I was very focused on technical things. And then I get to a certain level of expertise, for sure, in that area. That for sure you are at a certain point where you have to choose. Do you want to be a technical specialist or expert? Or do you want to be manager? And I got the opportunity to say, okay, the people from HR department asked me, okay, and for sure the managers of the division department I'm currently working in. Okay, Jeremy, I think now you have a quite good expertise, a quite good, let's say, technical point of view about the things. What about being a manager? What do you think? could that be something of interest for you? Because we think that now, just for memory, I used to work in an engineering company. Then I used to work in the headquarters. So more, let's say, process studies, calculations, simulations, etc., etc. And then I moved to a site, to a plant, where I was with the helmet, etc., and scaffolding, and etc., etc. And used to work to be involved in the day-to-day operation of the plant, which was currently in a refinery very close to Paris, close to Disneyland. If you've already been in Disneyland Paris, it's 40 kilometers away from Disneyland. So this was a very good opportunity, a very good, let's say, occasion and opportunity. I already said that, sorry. And then they made this. So once I have got the expertise of calculation, simulation, and so on, and then on the plant, for sure, the question is asked. Do you want to be an expert in, let's say, a technical point of view, or do you want to be a manager? And we are offering you right now the opportunity of being a manager, and we think it could be of interest for you to develop your potential and so on. If you don't like it, it's always possible to come back to the expertise domain, I would say, and a specialist area. It's always possible. But we think that now for you, what could be of interest is to be a manager. And now it's been 1 year, and it's for sure it's something different, because in the past, in my previous positions, I was not a manager at all. I was more involved in direct, let's say, operation and calculation and so on. And now it's a new job for sure. It's a new job for me, because I have to check the calculations of what the people working for me do. I have to make some, let's say, clever comments on what they do, and to also I don't know the word, to congratulate when they are doing very good job, and make change, adjust when it's getting, let's say, not in the right direction, just to make the good, to stay in the framework, I would say, where we have where we should work. And it's a quite new job for me. So to understand, to answer your question, I would say it's always, again, a question of opportunity. Like always, I would say it's a question of opportunity. Do I take this opportunity, or do I leave it? I decided to go in that direction. I say, okay, my managers, I trust my managers. They propose me this work as a manager. So I decided to choose this manager, let's say, position. And now I would say I'm quite happy with that, because it's a new job. And I think you get new, let's say, skills. You get new way of work or working, because you need to communicate with the people to try to understand what they are saying, what they are not saying, because it's also very important what people say and what people do not say, because it's also important when people do not say something, it's because something is happening, for example. And so it's also a question of psychology and so on. So okay. And maybe my next position will be maybe a manager, maybe more expertise. I don't know yet. It will be in 2 or 3 years now.
Nice. And I have the first question here, and we will talk about the refining in some minutes, but I was asked, what are the kinds of simulators or process simulation that you do in refineries? Can you give us some examples about process simulation?
Yes, you mean what are the main softwares we are using, for example?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, I would say in the refining area, we are very, let's say, addicted to Pro2. I don't know why. It's maybe because this software is well adapted. I don't know if the word is correct. It's well fitted. I would say well fitted to refining domain. But most of the time we use Pro2. You know, the provision, let's say, software. It's a SimSci, I think, software. So it's very popular in the refining area, not only within Total, I think, within all the oil and gas industry and refining industry, because I also used to work for other companies in the past, and they also use Pro2. So I think this software is quite, let's say, popular for refining. But you got also some challengers. For example, you get HISIS, for example, for sure. But ICIS, I think it's more for petrochemistry, for example, within the oil and gas domain, I would say. But you can also use ICIS for doing a refining, let's say, simulation. It's also possible because it's not something you can do. For sure, you can do it, but it's not, I would say, the typical software I would use when considering a refining simulations a refining simulation to build. And you get also some Aspen. You also use Aspen, but then it's more for chemistry. For all what's doing with chemistry. We know that Aspen is well suited for that.
Okay.
And personally, as far as I'm concerned, I'm very familiar with Pro 2, so I can do a Pro 2 simulation without any problem. I'm less familiar with ICIS and absolutely not familiar at all with Aspen.
Oh, but Pro 2 it still has its name, Pro 2, or they changed the name?
No, I think it's still Pro 2.
Okay. And okay, now let me ask you something that is, why starting a YouTube channel? Let's start to talk about this. Refining Exciting it's a very nice YouTube channel, guys. You must know the Jeremy work there because for instance, just an example to you, when I recorded the video related to sulfur recovery, I searched for many references to be able to start to record the video, and one of these references was the Jeremy video related to sulfur recovery, and it was my mistake to not mention it when I recorded the video, but now I'm doing it right now, and thank you, Jeremy, because what I most like in your videos is because you talk very it's not easily, but in a tone that we can understand easily. I think that is better description that I can give you. Please talk a little bit about this project of yours.
It's an adventure. Basically, it's an adventure because it was in 2015 actually that I was, let's say, led to some searches on Google, and I found some new ways of transmitting the knowledge. It was Mooc, the massive open online course. I was absolutely not familiar with it, so I had to go on, let's say, YouTube, and I've watched some, let's say, people doing some MOOCs, and I was very, let's say, I discovered something. It's, wow, it's a new way of communicating. It's a new way of, let's say, I'm doing something, I'm saying something, and anyone I know in Brazil, in Japan, in US, they can look at me, they can understand what I say, they can maybe ask also some questions. I found that, wow, it's really something that I would be interested in. So that's why I made the first MOOC about biofuels. It was the first one that I realized. It was in 2014, late 2014, donc very early 2015. And it was, let's say, a domain, the biofuels, that now we spoke more and more, because it's a way also to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a fashionable subject, I would say, and I have realized it 100%. So I wrote the text. I used to with my phone to get the camera on me and so on, and then to build all the video with the animations, etc. To be, let's say, pedagogic. The idea is to say I don't want to tell you too many things. The idea is to be simple. That there is the famous word KISS, like a kiss. For someone, KISS is keep it simple and stupid. Well, this is really the way I wanted to do that. Keep it simple and stupid. Like anyone could understand. So for sure, not anyone, because a 3-year-old kid, it could be quite difficult for him to understand. But at least for my nephew, and my nephew is 15 years old, okay? My nephew, I want him to understand what I'm saying. So keep it simple and stupid. And I think this is more or less what I try to do. To make short videos, quite short because if it's getting too long, you get lost, and at the end you get, okay, no, it's too long. I can't do it. It's too much. So the idea is to get small videos with a technical level which is not too high, but which is not too low, because otherwise, okay, it's just saying basics. I don't care about the basics. Okay, so I'm trying to be in between, I would say. Not 100% for the beginners, but not 100% for the very expert, because experts, for sure, they would be disappointed with my channel, because it's not a expert channel. It's a, I would say, intermediate level to make people understand. It's not too high, not too low. It's when you watch, I don't know, a TV show with a scientist explaining you things. If it's too complicated, you get lost. If it's too simple, you say, okay, and the guy, it's just covering the basics. I don't care about that. So to understand your question, the first point was the discover on the web, the Mooc, a new way of communication. Then I wanted to communicate, because I think that I've got talent is not the right word, because talent would say that I am very happy and proud of myself. No, it's not this, but I think I've got some special skills for the transmission of the knowledge. And you know, I'm not just doing videos on YouTube. I'm also giving some conferences in universities and so on. And I realized that when I do a conference, people are listening to me, and people understand what I say. So I think that it's quite something that I can do, and I'm not too bad I'm doing this. So that's why I created these videos. So the first one was dedicated to biofuels. Then I created other one, and then other one, and then another one, etc., etc. And then I got 4,200 followers. So it's not like Rihanna or Lady Gaga, for sure. It's not. But the domain is not, let's say, related to such high number of followers, for sure. I will never have 1 million followers, for sure. But for the domain, I think it's quite good. And I got something like 200,000 views. So, and it's increasing, still increasing, because you got some students interested in what I say, etc., etc. So it's growing slowly, I would say, but it keeps growing. And people also ask me either on LinkedIn, but also on my website, because you get also the opportunity to write me an email, for example, to ask me. And some people ask me things. Oh, you said this in the video number 2, but you said this on video number 3. Can you comment on that, etc.? And people are also asking some questions and so on. So and most of the time, I try to answer the questions. And sometimes they also ask questions in the comments of the videos, because maybe sometimes people want their comment to be, let's say, public. So it's also a possibility that, and then most of the time I also answer in the comments of the video. Then the people can have the question and also the answer. Okay, so like I told you, it's discover on Google, on a new way of transmitting the knowledge. And then it's getting like a drug, you know. I'm addicted to that, because I'm getting, let's say, I'm enthusiastic about this, and it gives me also pleasure, because and fun. So let's continue.
It is very nice when we observe that we help someone that is totally lost. Sometimes I receive this kind of feedback, that the person didn't know anything about that subject, and he or she watched the video and like that, and it very nice. And that is why, and that is one of the things that drive us to keep going, right? That's, guys, because that is very important to have your feedback, because we know if we need to change something here, something there, to keep increasing, because in the end, we want to record videos to people watch. If anyone watch, doesn't make too many sense. And I have seen that you have videos in English, you have videos in French, and I know that is very, in my case, to record a video of 20 minutes, I spend more than 1 hour to do that, with edition and cuts and everywhere. why do you do this in two language? Why do you do that?
The first Mooc I have done was actually done in French. And I got some questions from, I think it's people from Russia, asked me, it's a very, very interesting, let's say, Mooc, what you do. I'm very interested in what you say. And with the figures, even if I don't understand French, I can mostly understand what you say. So this is quite
amazing,
unbelievable. But and sometimes people, I don't speak French, but mostly I understand what you say because we have the figures and the animations, etc., etc. And then I also, to be 100% honest, what I do it also for the people, and mostly for the people working within Total, for sure, because I work for Total, for sure. And within Total, we are not 100% French-speaking people because we have refineries located, like I said, in UK, in Germany, in Netherlands, Belgium, and they do not speak French at all. So I told myself, okay, but if you do videos only for French-speaking people, you will be in a position where the people from abroad, from the people from UK, from Germany, maybe they also want to understand you and to get familiar with what you say. And this is why I started, let's say, imagining that I could also do these videos in English. And I did it. That's why. But I would say that most of the audience today is the French speaking videos. Why? It's not because of France. It's also because of people in North Africa. Because I got audience from Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. And these three countries are more, I would say, French speaking than English speaking because of history, for sure. So that's why people from Algeria, Morocco, and Algeria are, let's say, taking part to the fact that the French-speaking videos are the ones that are the most viewed on YouTube.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about process and chemical engineering. Could you define for us what is refining? Starting with the basics. Let's start with the basics and let's see how long we get. What is a refining?
You know, I get a conference which is called Introduction to Crude Oil Refining that I also did in a Mooc. And when I do my conference, I say that refining is transforming, basically. Refining is you take something that you don't know to do with it. For example, oil. Oil is wonderful. It's that you can find under the sea, in the earth, okay? You get oil. But what to do with that? Nothing. There's nothing you can do with oil. For sure, you can burn it and to get some energy and so on. Okay, for sure. Yes, right. But this is not the best way to give the customer a good product and for you to make money. So basically, refining is transforming this oil into something that is more useful and more applied to several domains. For example, kerosene for the aircrafts, gasoline for the vehicles, fuels for the boats, LPG for the gas bottles that you are at home for doing your cooking, for example. And also, for sure, I don't know, diesel for your vehicle and bitumen for your roads. And then you make money. It's wonderful because you transform something and to more applied service and to more applied, let's say, applications. And in between, you hire people, you make people working, and so on and so on. So basically, I would say that refining is transforming something from something you cannot do or you're not able to do something interesting, I would say, in something that is very interesting. It's the same for sugar, for example, with the sugar beet. Sugar beet is good, but what to do with the sugar beet? Nothing. So you have to refine it, transform into sugar. And sugar is very good because then you can drink your Coca-Cola. So it's very good. I'm not doing some advertisement for Coca-Cola. It could be also Fanta or anything. But it's true, you transform something in something else. So well, basically, this is what is refining. Then if you want more details, go to my videos, and then you will have all the details, and you will see that reforming is for sure exciting, but also very complicated.
And I have a question here. How important is the distillation process in refining? What is your point of view about that?
Capital. Mandatory. It's the starting point. So, you know, oil is a mixture of many different molecules. Many. So the best way to separate them, and at the end to produce diesel, kerosene, fuel, the best way to do that is to separate this, and how to separate is the use of distillation. So this is why when you walk close to a refinery, you will see many distillation towers. I don't know, I have never done the exercise of calculating the number of distillation tower we have within a refinery. For sure, should depend on the refinery, for sure. But I would say maybe 30, 40, 50, because each time we do something, at the end we need to separate, because when we transform something, we create new molecules that you want to get rid of, because it will pollute your final product. So you use distillation. So I would say that for each unit, you get at least 1 or 2 towers, 1 or 2 distillation. So the distillation is really the basics. And even if you want to separate 2 molecules with quite similar boiling point, like for example, maybe the people will know what's the difference between propane and propylene, you know, the C3 and the C3 with the double bond. Most of the time we need to separate these 2 molecules, because with the propylene, we can produce then polymer grade propylene and polymer grade polypropylene. But to get this polymer grade, you need to increase the purity to a very high level. And for doing this, you also have a distillation. And when you have a very, let's say, close boiling points between 2 molecules, and when if you want to, when you install a distillation tower, you need a very big one with more than 100 trays. So that's why you get towers with a very high height. But this is also the best way to separate it. So in the end, you use distillation. So distillation, it's capital, and you can see how capital it is when you are walking close to a refinery, and you will see all the distillation towers we have within such a plant.
And you are in the Mooc, I think that is number 5 or number 6? Mooc 6?
I don't know it by heart.
But do you remember what was the topic of each Mooc that you have in your YouTube channel? Can you list them to us?
Yes, the first one, and in terms of audience, for sure, it's the one called Introduction to Crude Oil Refining. Because in this Mooc of 4 videos, I'm giving you really the basics of what is refining, getting from the very start, from the very beginning. I would say, what is oil? What is it in oil? How to get the final products. And I'm not speaking that much in terms of temperature, pressures, process engineering. It's more, let's say, the scheme of the refinery. What is what are the main steps, I would say. So it's the one which is maybe the less technical. It's the one that you can understand even if you are not very familiar with chemistry. So I think this is why this one is got the most the highest audience. It's because it's quite easy to understand, even if you are not familiar with chemistry. So this is the top one, I would say, for sure. And then I don't think that you can do a ranking, because then it depends on the I think they are more or less in the same order of magnitude of views, I would say. and we cannot 100% compare them because they are not been released and broadcasted at the same time. So for the last one, for example, that I'm currently broadcasting, it's still ongoing. So for sure, the number of views is quite low because it's on YouTube now for maybe 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 months. So it's quite new. So this is my answer.
But each Mooc that you do has a main subject, right?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us, I want to go to the Jeremy web channel or YouTube channel to learn more. And if for instance, if I go to Mooc 2, I will learn about this. If I go to Mooc 3, I will learn about that. Do you have this kind of a reference for us?
No, no. I would say that the really it depends. It depends also of your level of experience because maybe I think I have people only watching one Mooc because they are just interested in that typical process. Because, for example, I don't know. Imagine you have a young process engineer hired in a refinery. And he's working for a refinery which has a sulfur plant, and he will be in charge of the sulfur plant. For sure, it will have a look at the sulfur plant Mooc because this is the one we would be interested in because it will be his work. So I would say it depends. It depends on your position, what you're looking for, what is what are your expectations, and so on. But if you are, I would say, not very familiar with refining industry, for sure, the best way to proceed is to first go with the Mooc number 1, then the 2, then the 3, then the 4, etc., etc. And the first one for the Mooc number 1 is so the first one at the very beginning. The first one was the biofuels, but it's only available in French, and it's not maybe the right one to start with. I think the right one to start with is the famous Introduction to Crude Oil Refining. Where you can, let's say, have the overview of the overall refining scheme, and then get more in details, and then you can either go to Mooc 3, then 4, then 6. Then it depends on your let's say on your expectations, basically.
Okay, so guys, my tips for you is start with the one and see all the seasons because you will learn. You have much to learn. And it is always good to review some concepts, and that will stronger your basis, your chemical engineering basis. You have
also some quiz to test you.
Oh yes, I always see you invite the audience to do the quiz. I never did that. I'm worried about getting a 0, so I give up from that.
And you can get a certificate for each of the Mooc if you have watched the Mooc number 1 or the Mooc number 2 or the Mooc number 3. And if you have at least get 4 good answers, and the total number of questions is 5, so 4 out of 5. For each of the part of the Mooc, you can get, if you want, a certificate. So it's a kind of diploma, with refining is exciting. I am giving you a small diploma claiming that you have watched all the videos and that you have reached at least 4 good answers out of 5. And now, you can also feel free to put that on your CV, on your resume. And, okay, I've watched the refining and exciting videos, and it's also a good way to prove your enthusiasm and your motivation.
Do you have any video related to SAW water stripping unit already?
Not yet.
Not yet. Can you give us some spoiler about this when you do? Because I have a question from India. I think it is from India. How is the importance of SAW water stripping units? Can you give just a general?
It's also all the units within a refinery are important for sure. Some of them are very important because they make more money. Some of them are less important because they bring less money, for sure. And the pressure you will have on your shoulder depends on the money you are losing when the unit is down, for sure. But each unit has its own importance, for sure. So regarding the saltwater stripper, for sure we have saltwater stripper in refineries. For sure, it's very important to I don't know if people are familiar with water stripper, but most of the time is to get rid of the nitrogen, so the ammonia and the H2S trapped in this water. And for doing this, you have a water stripper, which is basically a distillation tower, for sure, to remove the H2S and to remove the ammonia, to avoid, let's say, sending H2S and ammonia in the environment, for sure. For the time being, I have not planned to do a Mooc dedicated to that subject, because I think there are so many other subjects I want to cover before covering this one. When I've seen your question regarding what could be a teaser or a spoiler for the next Mooc, so maybe for the people who already followed my YouTube channel, I'm, let's say, finishing right now with the FCC. So FCC is a fluid catalytic cracking, which is a very important unit within the refinery, because it's a unit to produce more fuels from molecules that you don't know what to do about it. So it's a very big subject for refining, for sure. So I used to do a first Mooc dedicated to the reaction section. Now I'm covering the fractionation section, which is also quite complicated. And it will be, I would say, finished by, I would say, September or October, because I'm currently doing the last videos. They are in post-production, I would say. And then the next Mooc, I don't know yet. I'm still having some hesitation. I'm hesitating because there are many other subjects I want to cover, but there are subjects that are not so easy to cover because these are complicated units. The one I want to describe. For example, I would like at a certain point to do a Mooc dedicated to hydrocracking. So maybe it will be the next one. I don't know. And I have also thought about the vis-breaking unit, which is also a unit quite important, even if it's a little bit less important. But I think this is also a very interesting subject. So I'm currently looking after these two subjects. Maybe one of the two will be the next one. Maybe it will be another one. I don't know. I will now give me a little time during August and September for going to vacation, and maybe to get a good idea about what could be the next good topic to cover.
The question was from Saudi Arabia, and we have people from Brazil also. Very nice. And let me ask you, you have the Mooc in the internet, in your YouTube, and it is free for everyone. Do you have also some kind of training, and how do you see that?
Yes, first one, what you say was right. Huh? All the YouTube videos are for free, so it's and sometimes people ask me, oh, it's free, but how is it possible? Now everything you have to pay for everything, you know? Yes, it's right. But for the time being, this is my decision, not to make people pay, because I think that that knowledge is important. I'm also taking pleasure to do this. So it's not like I'm doing this for money, for sure, because I don't earn money at all with it. It's really a passion. So that's why, and there's no other reason for that, for sure. Then the question, do I have some training session? Yes, I have some training session dedicated to, you can see, you can have a look on my website, refiningixexciting.com, where you can find all the training session I have. But this training session, I'm only giving this training session in live. So it means that I'm doing this mostly in France. For the time being, it's only in France, and it's mostly for universities. Some universities contact me when they have a look at my website, and they ask me, oh, Jeremy, could you come to our university and to give a training session regarding thermal exchanges, regarding hydraulics, regarding distillation? And most of the time, the answer is yes, because I'm always happy to share my knowledge. But I cannot be everywhere. Otherwise, I could not work anymore. So I have to make some choices. And for the time being, it's the way it is. So Mooc, all on YouTube for free. So it's the good news. And then for the specific training session I have, it's only in live sessions.
you have felt someday that you having a YouTube channel helped you in your work in any particular reason? Or no, it's something that it's my hobby and I do because I like it, okay, but it doesn't help me in my job. Do
In fact, it does me. It does help me in my job because, for example, when I have done the Mooc dedicated to the famous FCC I just spoke about a few minutes ago, I was not so familiar with the FCC in my job because I have never worked for FCC. So it's a unit that I was not involved in at any time. So it also asked me to. It required for me to meet the people specialized in that area, the experts. And I have done it by myself, for sure. All the text I've been done by myself. But I also asked some of my colleagues to comment, to improve, to maybe correct sometimes. And for sure, it helped me a lot because now I think that I am not a specialist, for sure. But I think that I know what's going on in the FCC. And it's also true for some other maybe one or two more units I was not so familiar with. And it's also a very good way to learn. Because when you explain something to someone, you have to be 100% sure of what you say. So this is also what is my let's say, the way I am working. I want to be 100% comfortable with what I say before I transmit it on YouTube. So it's also a good way for me to learn.
I agree totally with you, and I think that who teaches learn more because we don't want to give wrong information, right? So because of that, to talk about 5 minutes, we need to study 2 hours, 1 hour, or something like that. So that helps us to improve a lot. And Jeremy, we are around 1 hour talking, and it's very nice to talk to you. And let's go into the end of this live session because I know that you have other things to do. And I would like you said to me that you didn't hire any younger engineer, but
yes.
If you can give some advices for people that are finishing the chemical engineering course or process engineering course, which kind of advice would you give to them?
To be curious, I would say, because now that we have a strange context, the international context for the timing is quite complex because of the COVID, and I think that some industry and some plants will have some, let's say, difficulties in the coming weeks or coming months. So maybe the hiring process will be somewhat difficult for the people now arriving on the market to find a job. So I would say that. Now, for sure, what we are looking for is we need to choose the people we trust, and we don't want to make a mistake. We want to hire people who have the motivation, the curiosity to work in our domain. So we can now be, let's say. I don't know if the word is correct, but picky, we can be picky in choosing one or the other one people because we for sure, since there will be so many people on the market, we can be something like picky, and you can say, okay, this we want, this we don't want. So you have to be the best one, basically, to get a chance to get hired, for sure. So the curiosity, for sure, the motivation. And for sure, when I'm not for the time being in the process where I will hire a young process engineer, but the first question I would like to ask him is, are you familiar with refining? Have you ever heard about refining? What is refining? Have you ever heard about Total? Have you made some searches on Google? Have you Googled Total refining and so on and so on? how motivated are you to work for us? Because you can't imagine the answers I already got in my past. No, Total, I'm not so familiar with it. No, it's not acceptable. If you apply for Total, if you apply for refining, you have to be familiar with at least two or three things. Be prepared. Do some searches on Google. Now it's quite easy. It's not so difficult to do it. You just Google it, and then you can have many information. And sometimes you can have very interesting information, and sometimes you can even know more about this or that when talking with the people doing the recruitment process, I would say. So motivation, enthusiasm, curiosity, and for sure, when you are a young engineer, you cannot count on your experiences because by definition, you're starting. So since you're starting, you have no experience yet, or just maybe your training period. So what makes the difference is for sure is this: is the curiosity, the motivation, and show that you want to get familiar and to be involved in the company, for sure. This would be my advice. Let me think if I have another advice to give. Yes, YouTube also, not only for watching my videos for sure, but you can have many information, many videos to see, to get more familiar. Because when you have made chemical engineering studies, you have covered many subjects. But if you can get more familiar with specific videos, more in line with the job you applied for, I think it would be a good way to proceed.
Talking about the refinery, there is any specific or kind of training or technical skill that the person should know? For instance, he should know about piping instrumentation diagram or HAZOP or something review. What do you think about that?
I would say yes, but I think that I don't know the way it works in Brazil, but this is not something we really learn at school, I would say. So I know that you, Jeferson, make some videos about this in your YouTube channel. I think it's a very good way to have the first elements of on piping, on HAZOP reviews, and so on thermal exchanges, on the high-speed simulation. So I think it's a good thing. But I cannot ask for a young engineer to be familiar with PNID, HAZOP review, and so on, because it's not the thing we learn at school. So this is not the typical question I would ask, because it would be difficult for the young engineer to answer the question, because he would say, it's a trap. The guy asked me the question, or HAZOP, what is HAZOP? Maybe in Brazil, or maybe now also in France, I don't know, the people get familiar with that in schools, universities, maybe it's possible. When I was an engineer, no. When I was at school, no. I never heard about PNID when I was at school. So maybe it changes, I don't know. But I would not ask this type of question. I would more ask the question related to the thing that the young engineers are supposed to already have heard at school. For example, hydraulics, for example, piping, for example, metallurgy. What is stainless steel, for example? Stupid question, but what do you think? What is stainless steel? What you know? You don't know? If you don't know, it's a little bit complicated, because stainless steel is something you are going to live with. What is a thermal? What is a heat exchanger? Do you know how it works? What is a pump? What is a compressor? What is a distillation tower? This would be the typical question I would ask, for example. And then maybe more the basics like thermodynamic, do an energy balance, for example, do a material balance, for example, such things, for example, I would say.
Good. You are very good teacher, because you address your questions for the level that the person should have, right?
Yeah.
And very nice, very nice. And I didn't have anything related to process simulation or pipe instrumentation diagram in my college. And if I had, I was too much inexperienced to realize how important it should be in my future career. and that's why I started doing the videos in the internet to try to fill this gap between the university and the job market. And
Okay.
Jeremy, thanks a lot for being here with me. We
It's a
are
pleasure.
about 1 hour talking, and
Yes.
I feel very comfortable with you. And
Yes.
if
Same
you
for
have
me.
any last words for the audience, please give you your final words.
Like I said, I think be enthusiastic. I think that I know that the context is not so easy today because we will be facing some complicated time, hard time in the coming weeks. But I think that at any point, at any time, people will go back to work and the aircraft will take off again for sure. The vehicles will drive again with the people inside them for sure. And we will go to work again. And I think for doing this, we need people. We need chemical engineers because chemical engineers are taking part to that, not only in refining industry, but also in nuclear industry, and also in biofuel industry, in energy, I would say, more generally speaking. So be prepared for that. Be curious. Be curious. I think that Google is a good and YouTube are good ways to stay in the loop of what's going on. And learning is a continuous process. So always learn. Always be prepared for the best. And I think it will happen. I hope, and I'm sure it will happen in the coming maybe in the coming months. Not in the coming weeks, but at least in the coming months.
Okay, Jeremy, thanks a lot for your time with me. And I hope I'll see you soon in LinkedIn and anything you need. And if I am able to help you, feel comfortable to talk to me, okay?
That was a good pleasure. Hello from France to all the people around the world and see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.